there everybody, this is Ostuni and welcome to a little bit of an idea type video. I might do more of these in the future if there are enough views or if there's enough contribution to the actual discussion and everything like that. But I wanted to talk about something for just a minute. I want to talk about two categories that I kind of dig, but there's something missing from each one of them. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with the first one being the artificial life forms category. The artificial life forms category, of course, came into being whenever we got LR Super Baby. And he's not really an ideal leader, like, as far as that goes. Like, he's an LR, don't get me wrong, he's gonna give you 4 key, but you're gonna miss out on, like, about 20% as far as stats, maybe even more, depending on, well, you'll see. But, he's not quite there as far as, like, a category leader. But while we're at it, the category just isn't quite there in general. Like, there's not that many options to each one of the classes, especially whenever you get down here to the strength options. Like, there's almost nothing there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Super Boo's a good option, but as far as that, after you get past Super Boo, there's not really anything else. And I was gonna say Tech pretty much only has one good option as far as Perfect Cell. You could make an argument for Android 16, but Android 16 is more of a defender unit for people that aren't quite confident enough in their team yet, so they put something into, you know, help with the damage. But anyway, like, it's still a pretty neat category just because of the characters involved in it. Baby being one of them, that's cool. Metacooler, Cell, Super 17, and then the Majins are all in here. And then you have Arale, which is kind of interesting, but it's a very interesting dynamic of characters. It really is. Like, there's a lot going on in here that, like, there's a lot of interesting combinations. But here's the thing, though. They might actually synergize well with a second team. And that team would be the Androids team. Now, already, I'm going to show you guys something. The biggest addition to the team is just having Android 21 in general on there. Like, she would probably be the best kind of strength unit to add in addition to the artificial life forms team. And I do believe, I couldn't say it for sure because I haven't looked this info up right off the bat, but I'm pretty sure that she links up pretty well with the vast majority of people that are already in artificial life forms. And then, of course, if you're a free-play player and you have the LR 17 and 18, you get those. You also get MVP 21 in all versions of it. I think it has 2 different cards. Yeah, the physical and the tech version. So you get those added onto the team as well as any of the quote-unquote good versions of Android 18, which are this tech one right here, and I believe that's it as far as, well, then there's the super one, or, well, there's the just regular SSR one that doesn't awaken. But still, you get some options, and a lot of these already go together, but it's the gaps, like Android 21 going in there, and then, like, all of the Boo characters, as well as, like, Baby Vegeta going into Androids. I think it would mesh really, really well, which is why I think, and I couldn't swear to this, but I think that eventually down the line we could maybe get a dual category leader for androids and also for artificial life forms. Now, who would be the leader of this? Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Cell is in the running I don't want to focus on him in the video, though, because Cell... Here's the thing. I'm going to show you something real quick. Cell's a good character and everything like that, and he's a popular character. However... Cell already has a bunch of cards. Hold on. Let's see, maybe disambiguation works a little bit better. Yeah, Cell already has a bunch of good cards. He has an LR already. He has 2 of the best Easy A cards, probably, in the game. Like, they're both very good. He has a GT form that is actually pretty useful. He has a pretty solid little free-to-play card over here. He has a lot of cards, and eventually he's probably going to get a transforming version, so I'm not going to say that he's not in the running. I'm just going to say that maybe they could take a character that has significantly less cards and actually make something out of that character. Now, who would I pick? Well, if you've taken a look at the thumbnail by now, you already know. My choices for this would be Super Android 13. Now, I want to go ahead and say right off the bat, I think that he would be in the running solely because he has such shitty cards. He only has one card of his that's even halfway decent, and it's this intelligence one, and it's only because he's an orb changer. Pretty much after that, he's not that good. He's just not. Like, his stats just no. And then he only does supreme damage upon super attack and everything like that. He's pretty much there if you desperately need an orb changer for some weird strategy, or if you're legitimately just missing cards. If you're missing like the free-to-play Android 21, that is awesome support unit, by the way. And then, of course, you have this as well. You have this tech one. It's, once again, okay. It's actually weaker in stats. Still only causes supreme damage, so pretty much worse. So, Super Android 13 does not have a actually good card. Now, for that, though, I would recommend, and we're going to focus on this one. We'll go to the other one here in a second. But if I were to make a Super 13 card that was a dual class leader, or dual category leader that I was actually going to get people excited about, the way that I would do it is I would start him off as regular Android 13, the human version, the gray-haired version, trucker hat. And I would have him transform and have like an active ability. And the active ability can be the transformation, or it can kick off after the transformation. I just know that the idea of having him transform isn't necessarily a foreign concept, because you could actually have him absorb the parts of Androids 14 and 15 to therefore become Super 13. And then, of course, you could have like better links if you wanted to. If you wanted to go that route, maybe get rid of the route of like having like maybe a link of Coward or something like that on there and replace it with something really good. Or you could actually have a special little ability that pops off whenever he actually transforms. Like maybe he does like his intellect card does. Maybe he does a orb change that gets him to max attack once. But I think that there's potential for Super 13, especially because watch whenever he goes into Super 13, he does a bunch of cool shit while he's Super 13. Particularly, he banes pretty much Vegeta. He breaks like his back over his fucking knee and just flings him away, and then he punches Goku in the dick. Everybody remembers the Goku dick punch. So maybe have those come into play somehow? I wouldn't be opposed to that. And then, of course, you have the SS Deadly Bomber as well. Like, maybe... Ooh, what if what if the Bane back cracking thing, or like the dick punch, literally like acted like a free ghost support card, to where like for the next turn your opponent couldn't attack, and maybe they get like a pretty decent like defense decrease or something like that. That would be pretty interesting. Like, what if his whole thing was that with that he would debuff, and like maybe the defense debuff and attack debuff lasted like more than, like, maybe throw in an attack one too, just to say. But maybe you have that carry out for maybe more than a turn. I think those are some ways that you could actually make this pretty interesting. But I think if you just put an active skill on there, like at all, like people are gonna jump on it pretty much. Like, there isn't a card that has an active skill right now that people aren't, you know, in love with and trying to get in some way, shape, or form. But now, here's the thing. There is another choice that I have. Like I said, as you've seen in the thumbnail, my other choice for this potential dual category leader would be Super 17, because, okay, I have Super 17. I have him at 2 dupes. He's not a bad card, and he has a purpose. He is the extreme AGL leader. But at the same time, though, he's not aging well, I don't think. I think it's time we saw a new Super 17 card in some way. Like, I think maybe you could make him... Maybe you could make him an intellect card so that he can, quote-unquote, take down the full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku that I believe is based on the fight with Super 17. I can't quite confirm that, but I think it's based around that fight. Or you could leave him as AGL, but if I had to guess, he's either probably going to be... He'd either be intellect, physical, or maybe strength. One of those 3 choices. But the way that I would do it is I would have both of the evil 17s that fuse together to make him as the actual starting character. And then as the turns go by, you actually will transform into Super 17. Nothing too long, mind you. But then I would make it to where he has a active ability very similar to Trunks and the new Fusion Zamasu. Basically a step-up kind of a transformation, but here's the way I would operate it. I would make it really unique. What I would do is I would have him, with his active skill, throw up a barrier. And for that turn, the only character that gets attacked is Super 17. And depending on how much damage is done, he will get some form of buff. Maybe it's... What'll happen, what would actually be kind of cool, is if he got a permanent bonus to his ki for every some odd amount of damage. And then whenever the barrier is done, he transforms into like the massive bulky version that he kind of manifests into towards the end of the fight. And then he gets the actual ability of a nuker, to where if he exceeds his ki count, see where I'm going with this? Because he's already going to have a lot of ki, then he is going to just tear fucking shit apart. That's how I would kind of do a Super 17. And then, like I said, I think for both of these new cards, like having them both as not only an active skill user, not just transforming either, but let's see. Well, yeah, but that's how you could actually make some hype around this, because they're a dual category leader. They have active skills, and they transform. And because they're newer cards, they're going to have really good looking like special attack animations and everything like that. And with Super 17, you have that added benefit of the barrier, which is a very cool concept. And you could say the same thing with Super 13, the ability to debuff the opponent for a number of turns. So an interesting concept. So potentially 5 different reasons why people might actually get excited for these characters. Because the thing about it is, I saw someone say like, well, the reason that they don't make a Super 13 card is because he's not very, beloved and everything like that. It's like, neither was fucking GT for a lot of people, but a lot of people in Dokkan actually just like the cards. If the card is good, people will get it. It doesn't matter what the character is necessarily. It helps, don't get me wrong, it really does. But more specifically, people are going to get the cards that are actually good. If you told me that, like, oh, we're getting an SSR, we're getting a Super Saiyan 4 Gohan, but he doesn't awaken, and he's on a banner where the rest of the cards are shit, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm not gonna get that. I mean, I'm a fan of them, but I'm not gonna do that. Like, I think if the cards were good, people would get them. I don't think popularity of the character itself necessarily has anything to do with it, because I think most people have moved on from Z Broly as far as like the actual fandom, and Super Broly is where it's at now. But in Dokkan, people want that LR Broly that's new, even though it's not the hot new thing and everything like that. So that's just my opinions on that little topic. But anyway, that would be my ideal way to have a dual category leader for artificial life forms, and for, ooh, that's Cell, and for androids. And like I said, I know that a lot of them do overlap, but I think what each one brings to the other's table would make it a very interesting combination of teams to have, and one would pretty much complete the other, in my opinion. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts about this would be. Like I said, Cell wouldn't necessarily, like, the eventual, because it's gonna happen, transforming Cell is in the running for this potentially, but my logic is that they won't do it because they'll probably want him focused towards, Cell Saga stuff, because it'll probably be at a little story event and everything like that, and a celebration that involves the teen, like a transforming teen Gohan or something like that as the centerpiece card for that event. So I think they'll want him more focused on stuff that pertains to that era of Dragon Ball and that class of, you know where I'm going with this. But it's not out of the, he's not out of the running, not even in the least. But if you could, if you think that there's another character that maybe I'm overlooking that would actually make a pretty good dual category leader for both artificial life forms and androids, let me know in the comments below. I'm more than welcome, or I am more than happy to look and see what other people's opinions are. I would like a little bit of interaction on this. Let me know what you think. And also, bigger question: if you could put 2 categories together and make yourself a dual category leader, what would the 2 categories be? Who would be the leader? That's actually pretty hard for me. I gotta take a look at that real fast. Oh no, what category? Okay. that's actually a very, very hard one. Like, I suppose, that's hard. That's really hard. I would say maybe, I got nothing. I can't even begin to think because there's not really anything that's just, you know, jumping out at me to where it's just like, why aren't these two teams together or something like that. We've got a pretty good mix of things as it is right now. I can't really think of anything. Like, unless they come out with combo characters or something like that, in which somehow if they decided to do, you know, maybe youth and hybrid Saiyans? Because there's enough on both categories. But I think youth would bring, the youth category would bring more to the hybrid Saiyans category. Maybe I'm wrong though, because wait a minute, I'm thinking, yeah, they would actually mix together fairly well, because there are some that are in the youth category that aren't in the hybrid Saiyan category at all. But yeah, that's the one that I could think of right off the top of my head. Let me know what your ideal one would be below, and use categories that are actually already in the game. Don't just be all like, we've made up two categories. No, we're not doing that right now. We're using shit that already exists. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. This is Ostuni, signing out. Grrr!